Hi you guys, welcome back. My name is Liz. If you haven't been here before, welcome. So today we are going to talk about the benefits of a low carb diet. I know everyone and their mom is into this whole keto thing. I personally would go crazy if I did keto. I love bread, I love pasta, pizza, and tacos all too much. But I do try and stick to a very low carb diet about 5 days a week, just because I feel like it gives me the stomach that I want to achieve, like a very flat, non-bloated stomach. I feel like it works out really well for my body. So we are going to kind of talk about what I do. We are going to talk about the science behind it, and then also a few additional tips. So if you want to see more, we're going to jump right in. Before I get started, I just want to disclaim that I am not a nutritionist, I am not a doctor, I am nobody when it comes to anything health related. So this is just based on my own personal research. Definitely look into research and consult with your doctor before making any dramatic changes. So let's get into it. So all my life I have kind of yo-yo dieted, and I have seen my stomach get bigger and shrink, with even just like a bite of a taco. Like, I lose and gain weight in my stomach very quickly. So what I've kind of figured out after doing my 30-day diet was that my body does not agree with carbs. And I feel like a lot of people are figuring that out about themselves too, especially with how popular the keto diet is becoming. This is not going to be about the keto diet. This is just a lower carb diet. I think there are excess amount of carbs available to the average human on a daily basis. I know I was personally raised by eating cereal in the morning, a sandwich, at lunch, and then some cheese bread at dinner, stuff like that. I was eating carbs all the time as a kid, and I grew up on carbs, and now as an adult, I find it really hard to stay away from carbs. Another thing that I want to remind you guys of is that you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight in general. If your maintenance calories are 2,000 calories, you could be eating 2,000 calories of vegetables, or you can be eating 2,000 calories of McDonald's. You would not lose or gain any weight. You would maybe feel a little crappier eating McDonald's every day than vegetables, but you have your set calories that you need to maintain your weight. And if you want to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So to lose 1 pound per week, you need to be at a 500 calorie daily deficit. If you want to lose 2 pounds per week, you need to be at 1,000 calorie daily deficit. So that kind of sounds like a lot, right? That's pretty dramatic. By making different substitutes, such as, eating a little bit more protein, filling up on some greens, these are all ways to cut your calories dramatically, and over time you will lose weight. So that's the initial thing that you need to understand if you want to lose weight, is it all revolves around a deficit. That's the only thing that matters at the end of the day, is if you're in a deficit. But how do you figure out what your maintenance calories are? It's actually quite simple. You can look up a calorie counter. I actually do have this macro calculator, which I think works really great. So it is by Katie Hearn Fit. She's an Instagram model, I believe. But I found her website, and she has a really nice calorie counter. You essentially put in your gender, your height, your weight, and your fitness goals. Do I want to lose weight? Do I want to gain weight? Do I want to maintain? You put that into this calculator, and it will shoot out your macros and how many calories you need to eat in a day. If you are going to do a low carb diet, you need to understand your macros. So before all of this, I was not educated in macros. I didn't really understand what it meant. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, but your macros are just like your main nutrients that you need to fuel your body. So it's carbs, proteins, and fats. We section them off into these 3 things, and a lot of people kind of track them. They're really easy to track. If you guys want a video more in depth about how I kind of track my macros, I'd be happy to do that for you. I find that it's easier just to make your main dish, count all of your calories in your main dish and split it up based on servings. I'm pretty sure that's how everyone does it, but I don't know. That's how I've been doing it. But your macros are your fats, carbs, and proteins. And so in this diet, obviously we want to minimize our carbs because as I will talk about it later, your carbs kind of convert into something that causes more weight gain around around your stomach. We will get into that farther on, but you want to keep your fats pretty moderate and then your protein pretty high just to fill up throughout the day. So based on the macro calculator, I'm supposed to eat about 62 grams of fats, 108 grams of carbs, and 151 grams of protein. So 108 grams of carbs is pretty standard for, you know, an everyday relatively healthy amount of carbs that you should be eating. But I find by lowering my carbs even below that it is helping me lose more weight around my stomach quicker. So I try and stay about 50 grams of carbs per day, just for my best results and, you know, a slimmer looking waist. And I try and increase my protein to about 150 grams of protein per day. It's actually a lot harder to fit in all this protein than you would think, but I try and stay about 150. That's pretty spot on for what I aim for. As far as calories, it says I should be eating about 1,600 calories per day to be at 400 calorie deficit. I would bring that even a little bit lower. I would say when I was dieting very strictly, I was eating about 1,200 calories. Right now I'm eating between 1,400 and 1,500 calories on a good day. Obviously there's days where I have cheat meals and I'm eating, you know, 2,500 calories. I try and keep that, you know, at minimum, but I just wanted to point that out as well. And obviously you want to take into consideration any exercise that you're doing. So if you are burning 400 calories, that means that you can eat an extra 400 calories and still be at a calorie deficit. So that's something I wanted to point out. But let's talk about how many carbs you should be eating on a low carb diet. So if you are going to be doing a low carb diet, you need to make sure that you are keeping your carbs under a certain amount of grams per day. So just to put it in perspective for you, the keto diet that everyone and their mom is on, you can only have 20 grams of carbs per day. And just to put that in perspective, a banana has 27 carbs in it. So a banana is a really high carb fruit, and a lot of fruits are. Same with some vegetables like peppers, stuff like that. Obviously breads, pastas, these are all very high in carbs, which are a big no-no on the keto diet. So the keto diet is generally under 20 grams of carbs per day. A low carb diet, which is what I'm kind of trying to follow about 5 days a week, is under 50 grams of carbs per day. So that is a banana and a half. So what I'm trying to do is, you know, I still eat some peppers in my food, some onions, but it's mainly meats, very dense proteins, and like spinach and broccoli, which have very few carbs in them. And then a regular carb intake is anywhere from about 100 to 200 grams of carbs per day. I think a lot of people are over intaking their carbs, which leads to excess fat and sugar in your bloodstream, which I will talk about later on in this video. I didn't really understand what macros were before when I started my diet, but now I really pay attention to that, and I think that's helped me dramatically. I highly recommend looking into that, starting to count your macros, whether it's through a calorie counting app or just kind of in your head. Just be aware of what you're putting into your body. So let's get into the science behind all of this. So what is a low carb diet going to do for you? What are the benefits? So with a low carb diet, you are cutting out all of the carbs and you're going to be eating more proteins and fats. And what proteins and fats do is they fill you up. So your appetite decreases dramatically when you are eating more protein. And that's what I found in my diet before. I was eating 3 meats per day and then 2 protein drinks. So I was full constantly, to the point where I didn't even want to eat some of my meals, but I knew I needed to get more calories in. So this next part is what I found most interesting, and I found that it was completely real with me. Like I said earlier in the video, I store a lot of fat in my stomach. It is the first place where fat appears and the first place it goes. I kind of lose and gain inches very quickly, and I feel like it's all carb related. So why do carbs ultimately lead to a bigger stomach? It's because of the visceral fats. So the visceral fat is the fat that is around your organs. You have 2 types of fat, subcutaneous fat, which is the fat underneath your skin, and then visceral fat, which is fat that's stored around your organs. And too much visceral fat will lead to things like stroke, heart attacks, diabetes. This is bad fat to have a lot of. And there is a direct correlation between visceral fat and carbs. So if you have an excess of carbs, these carbs are broken down into sugars, which then enter into your bloodstream. Once they are in your bloodstream, they go through your pancreas, and then your pancreas creates insulin through these sugars. So visceral fat is directly linked with too much insulin. So if you are creating too much insulin, it's creating too much fat around your organs. So by reducing your carb intake, you are essentially reducing your visceral fat around your organs, which is leading to less stomach fat. So obviously a great way to reduce your visceral fat is by eating less carbs. You won't be creating as much insulin that will directly lead to fat in your organ area. But another way is through eating more fiber, avoiding trans fats, cutting alcohol. Because a lot of the time alcohol has a lot of carbs in it, so if you are drinking late at night and you're drinking a lot, it's going to lead to an excess amount of carbs, which will then turn into additional fat. So that's kind of why you see some people have beer bellies when they drink a lot. That is exactly why. So just based on Mayo Clinic's article based on visceral fat, women who are 35 inches in waist and over are at risk for health problems such as stroke, heart attacks, diabetes, and men 40 inches and over are also. So that is something you want to be aware of and kind of monitor. Personally, I was about 35 inches around my waist, and after 2 weeks of eating a low carb diet, I reduced my waist by 3 inches. Just by doing that, you guys. I was doing a lot of working out and at a calorie deficit, but I was also not eating any carbs, and so my stomach flattened down very quickly. So I think it worked out really great for me. I'm still doing it. I'm still trying to maintain it about 5 days a week just because I feel my best. So this is just kind of what has worked for me. I would definitely recommend giving a low carb diet a try, at least doing it a few days a week, or you could even do carb cycling if you don't want to do it for like 5 days straight. You could do it like 2 days and then have a higher carb day and then another 2 days and then have another higher carb day. Whatever makes you stick to the diet is going to be best for you. So I highly recommend giving it a try and letting me know how you like it. It personally has worked for me. I will leave some before and after pictures just to kind of show you my progress. I will be putting out a low carb meal prep video with 4 different recipes for low carb meals. If you guys want to check that out, make sure you hit subscribe. That will be out next week. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you guys later. Bye guys.